but I don't know if this gets you better. I think this is a lateral move. Welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast, and it's free agency time. The tampering period is over, and deals are getting done. Like expected, like people said, like the rumors said, Sam Darnold to the Seattle Seahawks is done. 3 years, either $100.5 million or $110 million. Those details are a little cloudy right now, but it is a 3-year deal worth around $36 million a year. Again, is this an upgrade over Geno Smith? I'm not sure. Sam had a really good year last year for the Minnesota Vikings. They had a great team. They had an O-line that blocked. They had running backs that played well, that ran the ball well, great in the pass game. Can the Seattle Seahawks mimic that offense? I think in order to do that, you got to fix the O-line, and you got to fix the interior offensive line, and you're going to have them play better than they did last season. And unless that happens, I'm not sure this will be an upgrade, not because of Sam Darnold's talent, but because you're not able to execute up to your talent when you don't have time to throw the football. I think Sam Darnold averaged 3.0 seconds to throw last season. I think the Seahawks only gave the quarterback 2.5 or 2.6 seconds. I'd have to go back and get the exact number, but that's where my concern would be. The mobility isn't there like it was for Geno to be able to extend some of those plays and get out of harm's way. So we'll see. Can Sam do it? I'm sure he can. You know, people talking about a reunion with Clint Kubiak. It's going to be fine. They'll run the football. But again, offensive line. You have to fix the offensive line. A lot of these runs were getting stopped in the backfield last season, and you have to improve that. You have the backs to do it. You know, K9 is a good back. Charbonnet at times last season looked like a really, really solid NFL running back. But now you have to go without DK Metcalf, who was the number one concern of a lot of defenses in the receiver that they were game planning for when they played the Seattle Seahawks. Now it's JSN and JSN alone. You got Bobo. I'm sure they'll draft a receiver or two, but you're going to need to pick up somebody, and there aren't many veteran receivers available that can step in and become a number one. That's why they aren't on the market. You don't just find number one receivers, hanging on trees. So we'll see how they address that, but that's another concern. The Chicago Bears, you look at the Chicago Bears, they have completely invested and revamped their offensive line because they knew, hey, this was an issue last season. We're not going to allow it to be an issue again. We have a young quarterback we think can be the future of our franchise. We're going to give him the chance. We got Ben Johnson. We got a new coach, and I think we want to give them the complete opportunity to have success. And when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, you got a new offensive coordinator, and then you lose arguably your best receiver and your third receiver. You trade away the quarterback, and so now you get a new quarterback. And I know the system may be similar, but just because the system is similar doesn't mean they run it the same. Just like everybody else was Vic Fangio. They're like, oh, they run Vic's system, and he's a descendant of Vic Fangio, but nobody can run it like he did. And so we'll see how it goes. I think the defense will be fine. Jaron Reed, congratulations to my boy Jay Reed. He got a big deal for the Seahawks to come back. I think their D-line is going to be great. Ernest Jones, $33 million over 3 years. I think that's a great deal, a great bargain for the way he played, especially when he came in last season, not knowing the plays, not having continuity with the defense. He really solidified that defense in a big way, and they played really well once he was inserted into the lineup. I think the defense is fine. I think offensively, I still have a ton of questions. Does Sam Darnold alleviate all those questions? I don't think he does, but I guess you still can go out and draft a quarterback and develop him and do what you would have done if Geno Smith was a quarterback, but I don't know if this gets you better. I think this is a lateral move without the mobility, and you still have to address the biggest issue, which is the offensive line. I think Charles Cross is good. I think Abe Lucas, again, can be good when he's healthy, but outside of that, I think he got a lot of work to do, and the best center that was available went to the Chicago Bears. So now how do you address that, going forward? And I think those are the questions I have, because the interior offensive line, if people can come and give pressure to Sam Darnold up the middle, that's what they're going to do. And until you address that, the concerns remain the same for this team. And that's where I'm at with the Seattle Seahawks. There's been a lot of movement today. DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is something else we were discussing. I think it's a good move for DK. I think, based on the rumors of what he would have wanted, which is warm climate and contenders, I think that those things may not necessarily. I mean, he makes them better, no question. He got his money, and I'm always happy for people getting their money, deservedly so. He and George Pickens are similar, but not the same kind of receivers. I think they'll complement each other, but I do think you got two very, very strong-willed and strong personality receivers who are going to want the football and can help the football team when they get it. Does Aaron Rodgers come in there and join the Pittsburgh Steelers? That's something that seems like it's up in the air and potentially something that could happen, especially with Justin Fields being signed to the New York Jets for 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. It seems like they have the quarterback that they were looking for Aaron Glenn and his staff. But Aaron Rodgers with DK Metcalf and George Pickens sounds like a really, really great recipe for success if that running game in Pittsburgh can get going. But again, how are you going to block for him? You need the offensive lineman. They lost another offensive lineman to free agency. There's not a lot of quality offensive linemen to be had in free agency. Most of the quality offensive linemen people retain because they're so hard to come by. They're so difficult to find. And when you find them, you got to keep them. And you want continuity. You want continuity on your offensive line. So that's why you see swing tackles and backup tackles going for $15, $20 million, like Jalen Moore from the San Francisco 49ers getting picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs for $15 million a year. That sounds about right because it's such a rarity to have capable tackles available in free agency. You don't have to be great. You just have to be capable of doing the job at a decent level. You don't have to be a world beater. And I think that's what people don't understand. They think, oh, man, we just need to solidify our offensive line. I mean, that sounds good in principle, but it's really not as easy or practical as it may seem. Just because you have cap space and you have draft picks, you're like, well, we can fix our offensive line. If it was that easy, everybody'd have a great offensive line. There's a reason everybody doesn't, because they are very hard to hit on, and these offenses in college are getting less pro-like, and it's harder to judge these offensive linemen in these schemes and how it translates to the National Football League. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a guy who didn't play well in college plays really well in the National Football League. Sometimes it's vice versa. So it's a bit of a crapshoot. Who's scoring big in the NBA this season? You are, with all new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From monster slams to dishing the rock to cleaning the glass, get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like picking how many points your favorite player will have. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. First time? Here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Take it to the rack with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code Richard. That's code Richard for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. My guy DJ Reed got paid for the Detroit Lions. They had to replace Carlton Davis, who got big money to go to the New England Patriots, who have been so active in this free agency. I mean, it's crazy. How you improve your football team, you get better players. And it seems like the Patriots, with Mike Vrabel, are buyers in free agency that they were not last offseason. They are big-time buyers. On the defensive line, Milton Williams, the best available free agent on a lot of boards, goes to the New England Patriots. Carlton Davis goes to the New England Patriots. They have done a great job of solidifying that defensive line. Spillane from the Raiders gets to the New England Patriots. He's a Mike Vrabel type. I thought he was a a Raider through and through, and I never thought they'd let him get out of the building. I thought he was everything the Raiders stood for, and tough, hard-nosed player. Mike linebacker, plays the game the right way, plays hard. Um, but he's also a guy I think would do well in New England at the Mike linebacker spot, and that's a really good spot for him. You can see that they want to win this year. They want to be more competitive than they have in the past, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. My guy, Big Play Slay, got a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's an upgrade. I think he's a guy that can help mentor Joey Porter Jr., help that defense with Minka Fitzpatrick and the talent that they have on that back end. And they have a really good front in Cam Hayward, who was an All-Pro last season. Obviously, TJ Watt and everything he's been great at. Alex Highsmith continuing to develop as a premier pass rusher. I think Pittsburgh, with the moves that they made on offense, I mean, they've been clamoring for a receiver for years that they need another receiver. They need another receiver. Now they got a true number one receiver in DK Metcalf. They got another number one receiver in George Pickens. And whether it's Russell Wilson coming back or Aaron Rodgers, I think that's, those are good weapons to have for them to work with. I just don't know which one they're going with. And maybe they go with Russell Wilson for familiarity. Maybe Aaron comes for a discount and it's a QB battle between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. I think that's something we'd all pay to see that play out and see how the great Mike Tomlin addresses that and how he deals with that situation. Obviously, he handled the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson situation fantastically in hindsight. I think he moved on when he felt it was right. It looked good. It moved over well. The team made the playoffs, and then they kind of petered out. But I think if you really analyze the situation, he did about as good of a job in that situation as you could expect. I'm not sure what they do, long term. I think they're going to have to draft a quarterback in Pittsburgh. I think they're going to have to get somebody to develop behind those guys. If they're going to have a future, because I don't think Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers are by any stretch of the imagination, a long-term solution in Pittsburgh. But for a year, another Band-Aid year, they made the playoffs last year. They got a talented team, got more talented with DK Metcalf. I think it will work. I think it will work really well. But free agency is flying. I'm trying to figure out what the San Francisco 49ers are doing because they have not made any moves yet. There's conversations out there that they're in a bidding war for Dre Greenlaw. That's somebody they have to retain. Obviously, they've lost a lot on the offensive side with the loss of Deebo Samuels. There's trade conversations about Brandon Ayuk potentially to the Cleveland Browns. Everything's rumored clearly at this time, but I think they got to make a move. I mean, you have to make a move. You're getting rid of all of your defensive linemen. They're very thin at the defensive tackle right now. Released Javon Hargrave. It looks like Grady Jarrett is now available. Jonathan Allen is available. Those are guys that I think can immediately upgrade this defensive line. I hear the conversations with Joey Bosa are positive, but it hasn't it hasn't led to a signing yet. So maybe they want to do a physical. Maybe they want to do a in-person meeting, in-person conversation. But I know that would make Nicholas John Bosa very happy to have his brother on the opposite side. I know that would make his mother very happy. I mean, she'd get to rep both of those jerseys happily in those stands. Only has to go to one game a week now, which would change her schedule. But the San Francisco 49ers have to do something to address that defensive tackle position. Obviously, they're in the market for another linebacker. I'm hearing rumors about, guys from the New York Jets being potential fits. Obviously they're related, they're connected to Robert Saleh and his time there. He knows that roster really well. So that would make sense. But the offensive line and defensive line, again, is how you get to championships, how you win championships, how you win Super Bowls in this league. And every Super Bowl that's been won or lost, you look in those trenches and you can find the answers. Even this year, Milton Williams had his way. Noah Smith had his way. Jalen Carter, that defensive line got after Patrick Mahomes. The offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs did not stand up to it. that was the deciding factor in the game. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of other factors and a lot of other storylines that develop, but a lot of times it comes down to that. And the year where San Francisco 49ers played the Kansas City Chiefs, you look up and Chris Jones ruins the game. Chris Jones literally unblocked on the play of the game when a receiver's open, and Brock Purdy could have found him if he had 1 second of time. But, guard makes a mistake, leaves Chris Jones unblocked, which is one of the most unfathomable, insane things I've ever seen in a football game. But he leaves him unblocked. D-line, again, impacts the football game. So you want to see championship teams and wonder how your team can get to a championship or get to a Super Bowl or what's holding them back. Look in the trenches. If you do not have a great offensive line, you do not have a great defensive line, you will have a hard time making it to that Final Four or making it to the Final Two. And that's just the way it is in the National Football League. You can pay all these flashy positions, the receivers, the quarterbacks, the DNs, and you can have some of the best in the National Football League. But if those trenches aren't secure and your quarterback doesn't have time, it's going to be tough to win in this league. But that's my free agency update. We may have to come back tomorrow to update you guys again, because news is happening every second, every minute, every hour, and we'll try to keep you informed and give our 2 cents on it. Can't wait to see you next time. Appreciate you joining me. I know you can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I'm very thankful for that. Have a great day.